What time is it?
Okay, we have some fabulous live music later on, but right now, here's the kind I prefer.
Man, nice to meet you.
Likewise. I'm glad we were finally able to connect and everything. Sorry for the slight delay there at the beginning. And
oh, it's all good. That. I did the West Coast Styles logo.
Yep.
For Tim and Junior. Well, I just did a zine drop, which is really in collaboration with Hua Hasu, who's a fan of Bay Area 90s hip hop, a staff writer for the New Yorker, a professor. I mean, an author. I mean, this guy wears a lot of hats, and he's done a zine. He has launched a zine series called Suspended in Time, which is a series of zines that feature snippets of stories and images from people who were involved in different scenes, like Bay Area 90s hip hop scene, not the. Or, and then he'll do other ones about other scenes from like maybe rock to punk rock to raves. I don't know, where he's going to take it. But this is his first issue. So I'm very honored that he chose me and my work and my story to be featured. It's about 24 pages. So I think full color. And it's got snippets of my 90s hip hop graphics and then little snippets of backstories of how they came to be and how I got started, and that just launched and it's selling really well. And we're getting a really amazing response worldwide. I mean, Finland, Spain, Germany, all across the United States, like Japan, it's awesome. It's really an honor, that people are taking such interest. And there's this I feel like there's kind of this renaissance interest in 90s hip hop right now, especially. And not just hip hop, but not just the music solely, but also the whole subculture, let's say, who were the promoters, who were the photographers, who were the visual artists, who were the people who had the clubs that were making, the whole scene, including the backstories. People have an interest in that, and that's coming to life for a lot of time.
I agree.
Right.
That's really special for me because, again, that's, and that's what I grew up in, and that's stuff that really speaks to me. So
right,
being able to go back and dissect this, I've been listening to these albums for 15 years anyway. That's right. Great because there's kind of a re-sparked interest in it.
For us, I think we came up in the culture of 90s hip hop. It never went out of style, but there's been a gap of I think with the next generation coming up, understandably, there's been a gap of it being as hot, obviously, and as interesting to the masses of people interested in hip hop. And I feel like more and more of the next generation and the youth, which is awesome to see, are taking an interest this really paved the way for what hip hop is today, even as different as it sounds. Industry stuff, industry moguls who helped make it what it is, the Master P's, the Suge Knights, the Puff Daddies, Dre, everybody, producers too. I feel like people are coming to more of an understanding and appreciation of the fact that it really took a village to make the culture happen. It's not always just about the frontman rapper. Obviously it is that absolutely too. But it's I think more people are, kind of interested in the backstories of someone's logo or someone's how someone got in the game or how someone learned, what they know, how they learned to produce, or who was their mentors and all that fun fact kind of stuff. People really,
absolutely.
Culture actually love hearing those stories.
Oh, me too. That's my forte, and that's my area of interest, kind of the behind the music, if you will.
That's what, yeah. You summed it up, behind the music. I mean, social media, also streaming music changed the game for music and period.
Oh,
yeah. Right. And I think for a lot of people, well, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is it just changed the game in good ways and bad ways for the consumers and for the artists. You could not reply to DMs, obviously, but then you could. So you have that opportunity if you want to interact that closely between a fan and an artist, or just in comments or follows and likes. I mean, all that only matters so much, but I just think what you're saying is accurate. Social media is a game changer. Streaming music's a game changer. You know what I'm saying? And there's good, bad, and ugly to it all.
And I think with, you know, cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and all of this stuff coming too, like we're kind of NFTs, we're kind of at like Web 3.0. We're on the verge of Web 3.0 now. And so I think this is a really good time to kind of, I don't want to say hit reset, but just kind of take stock of everything and be like, okay, this is what's worked. This is what hasn't.
Yeah, man. The ever expanding internet and crypto market and just all of those things that have sprung up and continue to develop, you know, in the days of in the internet age, which wasn't the 90s so much. I mean, it was starting to be there, but it wasn't utilized so much. You know what I mean? It was like, I don't know. It wasn't obviously what it is, anything like it is now. And you know, because I'm saying like, okay, yeah, I had dial-up AOL, you know, email, but even then it wasn't like a must-have to communicate with people. We were still on phones, you know what I mean, and brick phones. You know, yeah, it's just ever changing. It's developing so rapidly now that I admit I find it hard to keep up with. Like,
no, I do too.
You know, I've learned art traditionally speaking, and also digitally, but NFTs, I'm new to this, admittedly.
Oh, you and me both.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, there's literally online courses you can take now just to learn about basic crypto, basic NFT. You know, I'm going through some of those paths, you know, to learn more, because I do want to stay relevant and keep developing as an artist, you know, a multimedia artist, a visual artist. You know, so it's a lot. We all have to stay on our toes if we're going to stay relevant. And I think that ties into the business acumen that rubbed off on me a lot in the early days of 90s hip hop with people like Master P, E40, Jake the Bigger Figure. A lot of people, you know, in the Bay and others too, but like, they just came to mind, you know, as being hustlers of many different, you know, avenues of income, and having multiple streams of income was always sort of that hustler mentality. And then what those streams of income are continue to change. But when you have that mentality like they do, you know, you're gonna always find ways to stay relevant and continue having, you know, a good amount of income coming in, you know what I mean? And have that hustle and drive, you know, and independent minded, you know, business savvy. You know, they all have that. That's a really big thing in the Bay. It always has been.
Yeah.
Independent record labels, independent hustle, multiple sources of income. You know, that's something that I was impressed by growing up in the Bay in the 90s, especially.
So I throw this behind the music question to you then. So how did you get in the game?
Well, you know, okay, I'm that artist kid, right? The kid who's always drawing, the kid who's good at drawing and getting attention for drawing ever since I could hold a pencil. I was not the kid who was particularly good at any other subject. You know, I was decent. I was, you know, but I was like, I had trouble with certain other subjects like math, right? But art, I was the kid. Other kids were coming to like, yo, draw this on my folder, draw this on my binder. And then as I got older and hip hop was blowing up in the late 80s, you know, I noticed you know, more and more of my peers, especially those who were a little bit older than me, you know what I mean, were starting to get in that game of hip hop, of independent labels, of I'm rapping, I'm dancing, I'm doing this. I didn't have those or feel those musical inclinations, but I loved what I was hearing. I loved the hip hop culture, the, you know, the dancing, the fashion, the sounds, the lyrics, the beats, everything. So it isn't happening all around me. I'm reacting to it in my art, drawing it. And then people started taking a notice of that. And I think it started getting really serious in high school, you know, that people were like, yo, so my brother, my cousin, they're in a group, they need a logo, they need an album cover, they need this or that drawn. Can we pay you to do that? You know, someone hands me $20, $15 back then. back then, $20 would have filled my tank. It felt like someone handing me 60,
yeah.
you know? So, and I'm in high school, you know, so I'm starting to get known for that, for doing drawings and stuff. And I also always had a passion for photography, and I studied that a little bit in high school, though I never pursued it as much as like traditional drawing and painting. But like, I had my Polaroid, I had my 110 Kodak. I was going to meet, you know, I was going to meet rappers in their studios, because as hip hop was blowing up, I felt like I was lucky enough to sort of come of age with it in that niche 90s Bay Area hip hop scene. And all this independent game, I'm meeting all these independent hustlers, like, I'll pay you to do this, I'll pay you to do that, for graphics, right? And so I was with it, you know, and I was pursuing it. And then, you know, I started meeting rappers who are really starting to really blow up. Mac Dre, Master P, you know, and sometimes some of them would ask me to give out cassettes or CDs. Yes, I'm dating myself. Cassettes or CDs, giving those out in high school.
No,
you
that's
know,
what's up.
I can remember, I mean, I'm old enough, in my mid-40s now, I can remember a time when, you know, I'm at Berkeley High School in, you know, the East Bay, and I remember giving out some Master P tapes and people being like, who is this? Not dissing, like they didn't know. Not everyone heard of E40. Not everyone heard of Mac Dre. They were getting a buzz going and repping for their sections in the Bay. And it was just like really, it was fun, it was exciting, it was raw, it was new. And then their names were blowing up, and my art was going with them. And my name was starting to be in the liner notes that I used to nerd out and read. I used to read those liner notes. I used to go to all these record shops and look at vinyl album covers. I would buy vinyl, cassette, CDs, whatever, because I love the music, but I was also a nerd for like the graphics and reading the liner notes and who are these people? And I'd read art direction by, photography by, graphics by. I wanted to be like those people. And eventually, it's kind of weird, but I became those people. Not weird, but like it didn't feel like putting it in the air, putting it in the universe.
Spoke it into existence.
And then years later, I realized, damn, I am those people now. Because other people have DM'd me or hit me up like, oh, I've seen your name in the liner notes of all these No Limit releases, or I've seen your name in the liner notes of Mac Dre's album, or like, I always wondered who did this logo, and you're that dude. You know, I was always behind the scenes. You know, I feel like I'm just now 3 decades in or so coming out from behind the scenes, because people have that interest in the backstories more now, because it's more vintage. Back then, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like, I mean, when people would find out if you did the logo or the photography, they might be impressed, but like, we weren't having shows of the art back then. We weren't having books published on us as those liner note people. Now we are. That's awesome.
So how did you get connected with No Limit?
Okay, so I used to drive around the Bay, go to these record shops, ask if I could leave my business card that I printed up. I made my own business cards. I would go to like these little copy shops, like Kinko's Copies, and I didn't even have my own computer then. I would go and like rent time on the computer, which you could do, and then, well, I guess you still can do, but I don't do that anymore. But rent some time, design it real quick, maybe even something in like as basic as Microsoft Word. Basic business card. It's got my pager number, my name, and what I do, graphics, logos, right? And I go to these record stores and leave my card if they would let me. Sometimes people would hit me. I'd also go to in stores, which is something I miss about physical music, physical brick and mortar record stores. I would go to these in stores. It was exciting. It was part of the scene back then. I remember being at Leopold's Records, Tower Records, Amoeba Records, other little one-stop shops in the malls across the Bay. Right? There was like T's Wazzy Record. There was the hip hop shop in Vallejo. There were other mom and pop small spots that would carry a lot of these independent labels, and then do in stores where the artist would be there, right? Like someone like Master P signing 8x10 glossies. You buy his CD or his cassette or his vinyl, and he'd sign it for you. But I mean, I met all kinds of people doing that. MC Light, people coming from the East Coast, from LA to the Bay too. I remember meeting DJ Quick, Second to None. I'm talking early 90s, like 91, 92.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I would wait in line too. I might buy something, but I'd also be like, yo, can I give you my card? I do this, that, and the other with graphics. And usually people, especially back then, I mean, they were still coming up. So people were younger and, you know, we were all less jaded, I suppose, and like more open to like, okay, cool, give me your card, you know. A lot of the people I was working with, it's not like anyone had really yet made millions of dollars, you know. People were selling out the trunks of their cars. So this was like hand-to-hand hustling, driving around the bay. So I'm driving around the bay like that too. So if I'm not giving out cassettes, I'm giving up my card. I'm showing some samples, my portfolio of hand-drawn stuff. You know, it wasn't super polished. I didn't have Photoshop, all that stuff. You know, I was at the spot called the Hip Hop Shop, which was like a one-stop, you know, mom and pop type business in Vallejo. And I gave my card, I looked around, made a few purchases, and I'm leaving. And then the owner, I believe his name was Ron, was like, wait, no, come back here. I got someone in the back I want you to meet. Hold on. Went to the back, comes back out. He said, I want to introduce you to this young rapper up and coming, you know, he's from Richmond. He calls himself Master P. At that point, I honestly can't recall if I had heard of him. He wasn't, you know, no diss at that point. He wasn't like some huge name or.
Oh, no.
Now we think of as a mogul, which he is, right? I was like, cool. So we shook hands, told him what I do, and gave my business card. He said, I'm going to hit you. I need graphics. And he followed through on what he said. He paged me, you know, sometime later. You know, we got back in touch. That's why I often use the hashtag pencils, pages, and payphones, because that's really the tools I use coming up. Hustling, you know, with hustling graphics, art, photography, whatever you need. He hit me up. We start getting along, vibing. He's in Richmond. I'm mostly in Berkeley and Oakland. So it's all close if you know that part of the Bay. It's all pretty close, you know. And so I'd be driving out there in my old, you know, used Volvo, hand-me-down 84 Volvo. This was the 90s, but it was an older car then. And imagine that, right? I'm driving Master P around in an old 84 Volvo and, you know, giving him rides sometimes. And we're meeting up at spots to eat or meeting up at spots to do photo shoots in front of, like, I remember it'd be like, yo, we got to do this album cover for the Real Untouchables. Meet me out in Richmond in front of this bail bond spot. And those pictures I took with my little, like, basic camera, trying to think of what it was, but
So you did like Mama's Bad Boy with that thing with like the binoculars?
No, not that one. Another one that tell them what's going on. The Real Untouchables. You know, I take a bunch of photos and then we'd select them together. You know, once they were printed, I'd have to take them somewhere to be printed. You know, and it worked like that. I mean, through him, I met his brothers, Sing Murder, Silk, others who were part of the Real Untouchables then, like King George. There's a dude, Fonzo, there's Callie G, you know what I'm saying? Sonia C was his wife at the time, mother of little Romeo, who was literally little, and probably no idea who I am, but I remember him when he was like, yeah. And they're living out in Richmond, you know, and I would be out there at their apartment. So at the apartment, we'd just do photo shoots there. I'd do drawings at home, bring it to him. We got cool like that. So I was rolling with no limit. And he made me my own business cards with my name, you know, that said No Limit Records, representative or artist or something like that. You know what I mean? And even put me on in the studio sometimes as like little skits, like on the Sonia C album, I played a dope fiend. I'm the dope fiend on the Sonia C Married to the Mob album. That's my
really?
That's my no limit career as far as an artist right there. As far as a voice artist, you know. I had a flood here in this studio that I'm in, and a bunch of physical documents got damaged, some got ruined. You know what I'm saying? So digitally, luckily a lot of them were already scanned. Thankfully to, you know, the suspended time scene that I was doing, it lit a fire under me to scan those. Then there was this flood, right? And a lot of that got ruined. And I'm just saying, like, the digital space seems more forever than physical at a certain level, at least from what we can tell now at this point in history. So, you know, I'm definitely trying to have my stuff documented digitally. and physically. I still do like physical art shows and art galleries and stuff. And, you know, I love all the physical stuff. I cherish my physical music collection in a lot of ways more than, you know, downloads of music. But I also respect that the downloads are like more permanent, you know, and they all have their place. It all has its place. So I'm just trying to play my part and, you know, be respectful and, you know, be respected.
I mean, that you talked about reading liner notes for, you know, art direction and photography. I was the person who did that for like producers and songwriters and stuff. And so to me, information like that always had value. And so it's like, whereas like now I can just go on Wikipedia and type in a song and be like, oh, so-and-so produced it. It's just like, well, when I came up, you had to go buy the CD or buy the cassette tape, read the liner notes. And read like,
and it was inside. So
look inside and be like, oh, DJ Quick produced this. Like that. So information had value. And I think that's one of the things that has changed. Again, I don't want to say necessarily for the worse now, but it definitely it gives you more to weed through.
For sure. I think that the more powerful thing about being older in the game, especially for like rappers we mentioned, for example, people who came up in the 80s, 90s, before all the social media stuff, they have so much actual, real life, tangible, you know, real clout, real receipts.
Yeah.
You know, real physical, you know, records of what they did that, you know, they don't necessarily have to be the most, you know, social media savvy, polished, you know, account holders. Social media. And I think that nowadays, you know, I'm sorry, this is maybe, I don't know, maybe this sounds like a hot take, but I feel like it's easier to bullshit nowadays. It's easier to, like, I feel like I could make a bunch of social media accounts tonight if I have the time and wanted to, right? Get a whole bunch of polished photos myself in front of all kinds of cars that aren't mine, and flash money that isn't mine. And I mean, really create an image that's fake. And maybe I'd end up with like 1 million followers. But like back in the days, you couldn't do that. There wasn't the opportunity to do that. You really had to pull up in real time, really go to shows, really go to record stores, really show your music, really perform it with less technology. And if you were dope, you were like legit dope. Like people knew it in real time. And it was like, you couldn't fake it. And I just feel like nowadays, you can fake it more. People can fake it more if they want to, you know, and get away with it a little more. Just like, you know, we saw that, you know, I don't know if I could talk about, you maybe cut this out, but I'm just saying, like, you know, there's that incident on the plane with Tyson and some dude's acting a fool with him, like he can play with him like that because he's doing it for the gram or whatever social media platform. And he really got hit in real time. And you know what I'm saying? Like, because social media has a lot of people feeling like this isn't real. But when you start, this real life is still real life.
Yeah.
And it hits you in the face if it has to. You know what I mean? And I feel like that was an example sort of like, yo, you're in real time, bro. This is not social media. You might be doing it for social media, but now how does it feel? You know what I'm saying? Tyson's an OG. People who came up back in the day aren't for all this fakery. You know what I mean? And I feel like, okay, we will use it how we use it. And some of these OG artists that I'm mentioning may not have, they probably don't have millions of followers like if they were brand new artists. You know, brand new artists, they're younger, they're more social media savvy, as are their listeners. Yeah. So they might get 1 million followers overnight. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the dudes I listen to, they might not have as many followers, but like, I don't think they care, and it doesn't really matter because they've proven themselves in real time. But also, you know, I had the privilege of seeing dudes like, you know, rappers in the Bay selling out of the trunk of their car 200,000, 500,000 units of whole albums. So they're seeing much bigger profit margin than like fractions of pennies because now someone's streaming this song and that song of theirs. And as fans, of hip hop or music in general, like in the 90s, let's say, for example, before streaming music, right? You had to commit as a fan to purchase the whole album, not a little 99-cent download song or whatever you're getting charged, you know, when you were, you know, but you had to buy the whole album. You might have to fast forward some parts, or you might not if it was all dope, but you had to commit to the whole album. And you had to spend that, like, let's say, I don't know, $10 to $15 or whatever, you know, and it's different now. I think artists, rappers are getting screwed more now on a certain level too, financially, because of streaming. But then on the flip side, people can suddenly stream your music all over the world. You don't have to go drive there and be like, yo, buy my album. So it,
again,
like
a pro and a con.
there's pros and cons to both ways, but this is the wave now. It is what it is.
Jumping back to No Limit and just kind of business acumen. So where were you in the scene or in the picture when Master P famously met with Michael Jackson's lawyer?
I admit I was not part of that. Priority Deal is the famous, infamous deal. But admittedly, I wish I had a juicy story for you about the lawyer deal, but I was in no way, I'd be lying. I can't, I was no way involved with that or privy to that. But, you know, I was someone who was, like I said, driving Master P around sometimes, doing drawings, taking photos, even dropping him sometimes off for college courses he was taking. He was taking business courses. He was playing basketball. I remember dropping him off at a local community college. You know what I mean? He was always sharp and focused on business. And unlike the persona that I think maybe people expect and was happening with a lot of rappers, I mean, I was around P a considerable amount. I never saw him drunk, high, unfocused. He was a general, and he was focused on moving his army, you know, towards success, and he did that.
So when you met him, was this is when he owned? This is when he bought that record shop.
He already had that. He already had that little shop, but he was pushing himself as an act, his wife as an act, and his group TRU, the Real Untouchables, as an act. And they were mainly based in the Bay, specifically Richmond, California, you know. And then he later developed other artists, but mainly we were, you know, promoting those groups and himself as a solo act and, you know, functioning like a street team. And others were involved too. I mean, I'm not saying I did all this, but I mean, like, you know, people were paid to go put up those wheat paste posters, and people like me even just giving out CDs and tapes. I mean, P's game was saturate the market with promo, stickers, 8x10 glossies, posters, and just hella albums by hella artists so something pops. And then when it popped, like, yeah. And people wanted all those albums, even the ones that some people slept on. Now they're collector's items. It's a trip. Sometimes I see on eBay where people will send me, yo, look at this sticker you designed, or these old albums you designed, or these old photos you took. I see people selling those. It's cool. No, it's dope. It's an honor. People are selling those, you know, even if it's like $10, $15, $20, $40, $100. Like, I've had people offer me hundreds of dollars for old Master P shirts I had with holes in them. And now it's like I think about how many hats and things I gave away for free, but you know, that's good. I was helping promote. You can't hold on to everything in this life, man, you know?
Dude, I spent like upwards of $50 to get this physical, because first of all, this is an awesome soundtrack anyways, but just to have this physical, I'm totally one of these people that's like, oh, hey, like I want, there's value in
music, the physical music, man. Yeah. It's important. Like, I have these, I've had these since the 90s. Let me see, can you see that? Hold up.
Oh,
you know, wow. Master P, the Real Untouchables, ESK, CMT. These are all original No Limit cassettes from back in the day, you know. Sorry, this one, I'm trying to.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I'm older. I'm like Which way does it go? This is it's still in the shrink wrap, right? Trust Nobody. That's out in Richmond by Hilltop Mall, which is now gone too. This is an illustration on the back that I did, as well as I don't know, it's blurring out, but there's that In a Minute Records logo that I did because they used to do, I believe, the manufacturing and distribution for No Limit before the priority deal. You know, this is 1993. So I was in high school when I did this, you know, and a lot of these, sorry, they're getting blurred out because
no, that's all good.
Yeah. They'll have some of these too, like Digital Underground.
Oh, nice.
What Spice One, 170 Road. I didn't have anything to do with these, but I'm just saying, I keep all my I'm very attached to my physical music collection that I feel like is like, that's just like wine, man. You know, it's just getting better.
The original Doggy Style with the next episode on the back.
Right. Look, wait 1 second. I'm gonna one up you here.
Oh, you got me beat, I'm sure.
No. I'm just saying this is a Doggy Style cassette original that I bought too, because I'm probably older than you. Short cassette, Boys in the Hood cassette soundtrack. You know, I have a lot of these, and this one, this Too Short cassette is 1988. I wasn't even in high school then. I mean, I was young. I feel like when I heard that stuff, that was when people were walking around with the big, you know.
Yeah, Radio Raheem style.
And and the triple goose coats and the fat donkey ropes. And, you know, it was just such a vibe and a style that it was like, wow, it was mind blowing for me back then. 7th, 8th grade, I'm thinking that's about when I heard that. And like, I mean, I'd never seen anything like that.
And kind of
more, it was new.
Yep, and it's kind of the slightly more modern thing again, which went digital. I mean, again, everybody downloads mixtapes now. Well, here's 50's original Guess Who's Back.
That's a dope issue album cover too. I'm a nerd for the album cover art. That's dope.
As a fan, what is some of your favorite album artwork?
The Doggy Style album cover by Joe Cool is iconic. You know, of course, the Machiavelli album cover by Risky, who I've been in touch with. You know, we've appreciated each other's work, and you know, props to Risky forever. He did a lot of the Death Row, like airbrushed album covers that, you know, that he said he got known coming up doing that, I believe, in the Compton slot, like airbrushing customs for people. So like the Chronic album cover, I mean, it's iconic. I love that one too. There's a lot. Ice-T, some of Ice-T's album covers have been really inspirational, iconic. Photography and some of the drawings that he used. What was the one with the shotguns in Freedom of Speech? But why would you?
Yeah, Freedom of Speech. Well, just watch what you say.
Yeah, with the shotguns in the mouth. Here's offhand. I'm props to that artist. I don't even know who did that, but I've never forgotten that album cover. That's the kind of drawing that I was doing back then that inspired me. Kind of like the 415 with Richie Rich, right? That album cover. 415, and a lot of people think I did that. I didn't do that, to be clear, but that's very much in the style of in the era of, you know, what I did and what I do. Nation of Millions, Behind the Prison Bars, the photography by Glenn Friedman, amazing, very inspirational.
I have a book, and I'm sure you've seen it, or if you haven't, I'll send it to you. It's all about album cover art history, and like there's an interview with Chuck D. He may have even written the foreword, and he talks about Glenn Friedman and the work he did for. Let me see if I got it. Hang on. I think it's on another shelf upstairs, but I won't bother with going to grab that. Yep, that's it. You beat me to it.
You said that, and I pulled it out from my bookcase behind.
Oh, yeah, that's what's up. Yep, that's exactly what I'm thinking of.
Yes, I mean, such dope artwork from back in the day. Yeah. So I'm not in this book, but I definitely am inspired by. Oh yeah. Also, how could I forget the Beastie Boys album cover with plane crashing?
Oh yeah.
That's to me, that was always a super dope, very iconic album cover too. But you know, I was impressed to find out Shock G a lot of his own album artwork.
Oh yeah.
Chuck D did a lot of did that Public Enemy logo with the B-boy and the crosshairs.
Mm-hmm.
And he studied graphic design and art. And I didn't know that till I, started reading more about him. And that always impressed me. Yeah, let me put this book away before I start getting lost in it. But
yeah, no,
I love books like this. I'm honored when people are now starting to ask me to be in books and magazines like this, shows like this. It helps preserve the legacy, and it's great for the culture. It's great for the fans. I mean, it's great for the artists too, because it's giving older artists, a fresh look and more fresh exposure.
So how do you see, because again, we were talking about liner notes, obviously we were having fun swapping stories and collector's items. And so how do you see the future of how do you see this continuing to evolve in the digital age?
I think NFTs are a big part of that. I think that like the Machiavelli album cover I just mentioned by Risky Forever, that just dropped as an NFT recently, and it's blowing up. I just think through the digital age and cryptocurrency, NFTs, I think more and more of this is going to be basically immortalized, or this original analog artwork will be immortalized more and more through cryptocurrency, NFT, project drops, etc. But I also think there's going to be more and more physical art gallery shows. I think there's going to be more and more photography shown. I think there's more and more artwork being shown, like the stuff that Risky does, that I've done, that others have done, like Joe Cool. I mean, more and more galleries internationally have reached out to me about, showing. Well, first they want to know, do I have the physical original sketch of such and such drawing?
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, in most cases, I don't. Those were done in sketch pads and then eventually scanned and tweaked in Photoshop. And so really the finished piece wasn't the original sketch on paper. It was the digitized piece. But in some cases, I do have them. And then in some cases, I've created like remixed collages with them. And I'm working on some projects like that with international galleries. There's a gallery, Harleston High Street in London, that's I've been in talks with and shown some work with internationally. Even when I couldn't go, it's amazing that the artwork could go, like, to art fairs. I just think the future is going to be digital, and it's also going to be those physical pieces of photo prints and limited edition prints of original artwork. It's all that. The interest is there, and it's only increasing. But I do think probably the digital stuff is really where the money's at right now. Because more and more people can buy a bunch of NFTs than can buy like the one drawing that I did, let's say in 1993 for so-and-so,
I see stuff like this kind of, again, NFTs are the way of the future, but I do see there being a niche market for just stuff that we were showing each other, like the way vinyl has come back.
Yes. I'm glad you mentioned that. I don't have those right on me. Those are in another room. But there's a lot more of these like limited edition vinyl drops with cool, mixed color wax and new album artwork, or just the same album artwork, but maybe refined a little bit, like like they've touched it up a little. And that's really dope. I'm glad that some people have reached out to me about being part of that, because some of them want, I wish I had it on me, but some of the drawings I did would go on that center label in the center of the wax, and people want that original for the re-release of some old 90s album, for example. And in some cases, I do have a high-res scan of that. I can send that, and we can work. I mean, I'm a ride or die West Coast hip hop fan. I think people who know me know that. People who follow me, that you can look at what I post and know that, because I treat it like a blog and an archive, so it will outlive me, because I want the history recorded. I'm honored to have done the logo for West Coast Styles, which I know is a media outlet that broke a lot of really important LA artists early on, and they get a lot of respect for that from a lot of people, including me. And Tim, Junior, you, all the whole team I mean, I know I have nothing but respect for, and I know the pandemic set us back on a lot of things, but I really appreciate this interview and the opportunities, to go forward with more exciting projects that are dynamic for the followers, for the listeners, for the fans. We have this network of people who really love the culture, respect it, and I think we need to just keep our we have our hands in a lot of different things. We're wearing different hats, but like we got to keep our network tight and just support each other. Anytime West Coast hip hop, West Coast Styles needs me to help promote something, I'm doing it. And also likewise, I appreciate that y'all help promote me. Like when the logo dropped on merch, we both shared that on our respective social media platforms and like tagged each other and added each other and everything to give each other props. That only expands the network, that only expands the reach and the fan base, and it only expands the culture, which is great.
Okay, we have some fabulous live music later on, but right now here's the kind I prefer.